Remember 2013? You paid $7.99 a month, one app, one password, one place to find almost everything worth watching, no ads, no restrictions, just press play. Netflix wasn't just a service, it was a promise that the future would be simpler than the past. Fast forward to today. You're paying $80, over $100 a month across 6 different platforms. Half of them have ads even though you're paying. The show you were watching got pulled for tax purposes. The movie you want isn't on any service you subscribe to, but it's available to rent for $5.99, and piracy traffic? It's surging. Back to levels we haven't seen since the early 2010s. What happened? The streaming companies thought they were fighting each other for market dominance. They forgot they were actually competing against something else entirely: friction. This is the story of how an industry snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Let's go back to understand what was actually won and then lost. In the early 2000s, piracy was rampant. Napster, LimeWire, BitTorrent. If you wanted media, you could get it free. The music industry sued thousands of people. The movie industry ran those "you wouldn't download a car" ads. Nothing worked. Then something strange happened. Spotify launched. iTunes had already gained traction. And for video, Netflix shifted from DVDs to streaming, and piracy dropped significantly. Not because enforcement got better, not because people suddenly developed stronger moral convictions about copyright, but because legal services became more convenient than illegal ones. Gabe Newell, the founder of Steam, said it perfectly. Piracy is almost always a service problem, not a pricing problem. Think about what Netflix offered in 2013. Open one app, search for what you want, press play. It starts immediately in HD. No downloading, no waiting, no checking if the file is a virus, no managing storage space. For most people, this was simply easier than torrenting. Even though torrenting was free, the value proposition wasn't just the content, it was the reduction of friction. It was the elimination of all the small annoying steps that made piracy feel like work. Price mattered, sure, but $7.99 wasn't competing with free. It was competing with the time cost and hassle of finding, downloading, and managing pirated content. For a brief window, the legal option was the superior product. And here's the crucial detail. This only worked because content was aggregated. The value wasn't just convenience, it was comprehensiveness. One service, one search bar, one subscription, one interface you understood. This was the promise. This was what convinced millions of people to stop pirating. Then the executives started doing math. Netflix was paying licensing fees to Disney, to Warner Bros., to NBC Universal. These studios were watching Netflix's stock price climb and thinking, why are we giving them our content for a licensing fee when we could be collecting subscription fees directly? The logic seemed sound. Vertical integration, cut out the middleman, capture more value from your own IP. Disney pulled their content and launched Disney+. NBC Universal created Peacock. Warner Bros. Built HBO Max, then rebranded it to Max. Paramount launched Paramount+. Apple launched Apple TV+. Every major content owner decided they needed their own streaming platform, and the user experience shattered. Here's what happened from a consumer perspective. You're watching The Office on Netflix, then it moves to Peacock. Want to watch Friends? That moved to HBO Max. Looking for Marvel movies? They're on Disney+. But wait, some Marvel shows are on Hulu because of old contracts. The show you were in the middle of watching? Gone to a different service. Now you need to remember which service has which content. You need to download multiple apps, manage multiple subscriptions, remember multiple passwords. Then came the Enshittification. Phase 1. Price increases. Netflix went from $7.99 to $9.99, then $11.99, then $15.49. Disney Plus launched at $6.99 and now charges $13.99. HBO Max started at $14.99 and is now $16.99. Phase 2. The return of advertising services introduced ad-supported tiers, which would be fine except they started pushing users toward them. The ad-free tier became the premium tier, with prices rising to make the ad tier look more reasonable by comparison. Phase 3. Password sharing crackdowns. The thing that made subscriptions valuable for young people, for families, for college students, suddenly became a violation of terms of service. Phase 4. Content removal. Shows and movies that you assumed would be available got pulled, sometimes for licensing reasons, sometimes because companies decided they could get a tax write-off by deleting finished content rather than releasing it. Phase 5. Quality degradation. Bitrate compression increased to save on bandwidth costs. That 4K stream doesn't look as good as it used to. Many services cap at 1080p unless you pay extra or use specific devices. The industry recreated cable. Actually, they created something worse than cable. At least with cable, you had one bill, one remote, and content didn't randomly disappear. The current state: if you want comprehensive access to major movies and shows, you need Netflix, Disney+, HBO Max, Amazon Prime Video, Hulu, Apple TV Plus, and Paramount Plus. That's roughly $100 per month, with ads and content still rotating in and out. So what did people do? Some just accepted the new reality. They subscribed to 3 services and missed out on everything else. They dealt with the fragmentation. Others rotated subscriptions. Subscribe to Disney Plus for a month, binge what you want, cancel, come back in 6 months, and others went back to piracy. But this isn't the piracy of 2005. The technology evolved. Modern piracy looks like this. Services like Plex or Jellyfin let you create your own Netflix-style interface with content you've downloaded. Applications like Stremio with add-ons can pull content from various sources and present it in one unified interface. Real Debrid services offer cached torrents that stream instantly, no waiting. From a pure user experience standpoint, modern piracy often provides better quality, full 4K Blu-ray rips with lossless audio, not compressed streams. The difference is visible if you have a decent TV. Better reliability. The content doesn't disappear. You're not dependent on licensing agreements or corporate strategies. Better interface. One library, one search. Everything you own in one place. Better features. No unskippable warnings. No forced trailers. No continue watching queues that span multiple services. Is this piracy harder than just opening Netflix? Yes, there's initial setup. You need technical knowledge or willingness to learn, but once it's set up, it's often easier than managing 7 different streaming subscriptions. And here's the data. According to multiple reports, piracy surged significantly in 2023 and 2024. Visits to piracy websites increased. VPN usage for accessing content rose. The exact numbers vary by source, but the trend is consistent. This isn't happening because people suddenly became more immoral. It's happening because the legal option got worse while the illegal option got better. That's Gabe Newell's thesis proven again. Here's what often gets missed in these discussions. This isn't primarily about money. People pay for Spotify even though YouTube has free music with ads. They pay for Steam games even though pirated versions exist. They pay for Netflix when it has what they want. People will pay for convenience. What they won't tolerate is friction masquerading as choice. Managing 7 streaming subscriptions isn't a minor inconvenience. It's cognitive overhead. It's decision fatigue. Every time you want to watch something, you need to note fulling. Figure out which service has it. Remember if you currently subscribe to that service. If not, decide if it's worth subscribing for one piece of content. Navigate to that specific app. Log in. Did you save this password? Which email did you use? Search again within that app. Hope it's still available. Compare this to typing into one search bar and pressing play. Or compare it to how people consumed cable. Yes, cable had ads and was expensive, but it had one interface. You flipped channels. You didn't need to remember which network had which show because the guide had everything. The streaming fragmentation is death by 1,000 cuts. Each individual inconvenience is small. Cumulatively, they make the entire experience exhausting. And when the legal option becomes exhausting, people look for alternatives. So where does this go? The current model is unsustainable. Most streaming services aren't profitable. They're running on investor money and subscriber growth projections that keep not materializing. Disney Plus loses money, Paramount Plus loses money, Peacock loses money, even HBO Max's profitability is questionable depending on how you calculate content amortization. The only consistent winners are Netflix and Amazon only because they bundle Prime Video with their shipping service. We're already seeing consolidation signals. Discovery merged with Warner Bros. Paramount is exploring sales or mergers. Disney is considering selling Hulu's stake or bundling everything together. The likely future, we'll end up with 3, maybe 4 major services. Netflix because they have scale and a content production machine. Amazon Prime Video because it's subsidized by e-commerce. Disney Plus because they own an enormous IP catalog. Maybe HBO Max survives because of HBO's brand prestige. Everything else either gets absorbed or dies. And hopefully the survivors learn the lesson. Aggregation was the value proposition all along. Users don't want to support your specific corporate ecosystem. They want to watch shows without thinking about corporate structures. The service that wins long-term will be the one that makes content access easy again. That might mean licensing deals returning. It might mean bundling that's actually comprehensive. It might mean a la carte where you can purchase individual shows or movies permanently. Whatever the solution, it has to solve the fundamental problem. The legal option needs to be easier than the illegal one. The streaming wars were supposed to be about which company would dominate the future of entertainment. Instead, they became a case study in how to destroy a functioning market through fragmentation. The lesson isn't complicated. You can't fight user behavior with corporate strategy. You can't make products worse and expect people to just accept it. Piracy didn't win because pirates got better at technology. Piracy won because streaming services collectively decided to prioritize short-term revenue maximization over user experience. They forgot what made streaming successful in the first place. They forgot that they were competing against convenience, not just against each other. The irony is that the music industry already learned this lesson. Spotify and Apple Music exist as aggregators. You can find almost any song in one place. And music piracy, while it still exists, is a fraction of what it once was. The video industry had this figured out for a brief moment, then they broke it, deliberately. Whether they can fix it remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, you can't build a sustainable business model on making your product harder to use. The internet roots around inconvenience. Always has. Always will. If you want to understand how digital markets actually work, what makes services succeed or fail, and where entertainment is heading next, subscribe, because this story isn't over. The companies lost this round, but the next evolution of how we consume content is already being written.